MC Eiht, what's good?
What's cracking, peoples?
First time on Vlad TV.
First time for everything. First
Yeah,
time
man.
for everything. It's all good, though.
It's an honor to have you here. Big fan.
Good looking, peoples.
So let's start from the beginning. You grew up in Compton.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what part?
I grew up on the west side of Compton. Well, really, I grew up on the east side of Compton, Alameda and Greenleaf.
Okay.
So people familiar, that was over by Compton College, over by where we used to have the Crooked Auto Center. It's now beautiful Best Buy and Fridays now and all that. But when I grew up, it was a dirt empty field and Alameda and Greenleaf, famous Greenleaf, that's where I grew up.
Trangu Park, is that the
Trangu
area?
Park is on the west side of Compton.
Okay.
So I managed to fluctuate over there just from family members, sisters, boyfriends, cousins, and just knowing people growing up, going to school. That's how I ended up over there.
I mean, during that time, when NWA started to come out and everything else like that, Compton was painted a certain type of way as a violent city and so forth. At the time that you were growing up, was that pretty accurate?
It was pretty accurate. I mean, I'm a 70s baby, so growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, yeah. I mean, we saw movies like Warriors and shit like that, so we knew gangs, whatever. I knew they were around, but I was a youngin', so my mom's was a nurse. My father worked at General Motors in Southgate, so I wasn't around. We lived in it, but I didn't know it too much. And then you could say around 84, it's just the fluctuate the game. It was always there, but my first witnessing of it, the gangs and colors and rags and sets and all that, around 84, 85 when I came in the light.
Okay.
So it has always been depicted as that city, known for drive-bys, drugs, police, and we was just one of them towns.
Now, 84, was that when crack first started to, enter the city?
I'd say around 84, 85. Yeah, we started seeing, I started noticing the Volkswagen Bugs fixed up with the plush interior and chandeliers in cars and low riders, and so basically that's when you got your first taste of the crack epidemic. I would see some of the OG homies selling little packs and baggies, and was curious because it was money, so it started hitting around 84, 85 because you started seeing cats that you went to elementary school last year with, and y'all in the 7th, 8th grade this year, they pulling up with $20,000 cars and Dayton rims and pagers, and so it started hitting the city real hard around 84, 85.
Well, I interviewed Freeway Ricky
Right.
recently. You know him?
Yeah, I know Freeway personally.
Okay. Did you know him back then?
I didn't know him back then.
Okay. Did you know of him back then?
I knew of him.
Yeah, because he was.
If you were Compton, Watts, LA, then basically you knew all of who was the men's, who had the sack, who was, and Freeway was one of them. We had a few though.
Okay. Because I heard that back then it wasn't called crack, it was called Ready Rock.
We called it Ready Rock. I mean, that sounded like a New York term to us. To us, it was crack.
Yeah.
It was rock. That's what we called it, rock. We didn't call it crack, we called it rocks.
Now, what happened when crack first started entering Compton?
I mean, everybody wanted a piece. It was fast money. I could really say myself coming up as a youth, the gangs were more about neighborhoods and, just belonging, a couple of sets, running with the homeboys. But when crack came in, it was a way for you to be different from the rest of the pack. We all gang banged, but then crack set you apart. If you got a hold of a sack and you was able to double up and a couple of ounces to move up to basically you were the man. So your transition was everybody wanted a piece of it. So it turned into, a lot of killings. It turned into a lot of drive-bys, a lot of set beefs, because now you got dudes from outside your neighborhood, or you going to other sets trying to cop and whatever. So it basically turned Compton into a war zone. I mean, we was already gang banging, but with the crack epidemic, it was just like it brought the money scale to a different aspect.
Right. I mean, because now it wasn't just a bunch of petty crimes.
Exactly. Now you got brothers fighting for millions of dollars and being that person. So it kind of turned up the fire a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Freeway was saying how
I had a cash flow of $200,000 a day, profit. Yeah.
Which was easy.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was easy. I mean, we be in the neighborhood, it'd be 5, 6 dudes on one block, and we all selling out in one night. That's just how much crack started rolling. You could be on one block, and if it's 5 or 6 or 7 of y'all, everybody's still selling out. You got your clientele, you got your customers, you got your certain people, so it was just money to be made. But then, like I said, it was violence too, because now you're getting jealous of the other dudes who making more money than you, stealing your clientele, show stopping. A lot of that was going on.
Right, and then people controlled certain areas.
Exactly.
Like you can't just set up shop.
No,
on
I
your
can't.
block.
I can't go over to the South, or I can't go over to L.A., or I can't go to certain neighborhoods unless I had a relative or a cousin, or I had already set up over there. But that was a hard thing too, because once you dry your spot out, you want to go cop somewhere, or you want to go to another spot to make money, and that just wasn't happening. You just can't go set up in somebody else's spot and take over their clientele. That was a no-no.
Now, were you actually dabbling in that? Were you actually?
I dabbled in a little bit, it wasn't my thing. Yeah. I mean, my thing, like I tell people, my perfect example is everybody can't be doctors, lawyers. Everybody can't be football players. Everybody can't be rappers, producers. Yeah. So, but I think at that time, it was an experience that I had to go through because I was gangbanging, It got to a point to where, my father wasn't in the home. My mother was a single parent. It's 3 of us. We living in poverty stricken, whatever. So you want money. You see the attractions of it. So it was something I dabbled in. Of course, I'm gonna get a 50-pack, try to double up and sell.
Right.
But me, I was more with the just trying to survive with it, So I would sell to make ends meet, buy a pair of tennis shoes or some pants, or basically just to rent the neighborhood's car or something like that to get around. So it never took me to the aspect to where I had to push it to where, I got to give me some kilos and I got to do this or that, because, it was always something in the back of my brain that I thought I was able to do something else, even when I was gangbanging.
Because it is ultimately a dead end.
It definitely. I mean, I've known dudes who've been selling forever, but it's still that look over your shoulder aspect. And at 40, 50 years old, it tends to be a little kind of nerve-wracking. So, it's an up and down situation. Some dudes do it, but at the end of the day, like you said, it's a never-ending story, because who wants to look up 40 years later and going, I'm still selling nickel and dime pieces and shit to survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then of course if you get bigger, then that's a whole new set of problems.
Yeah, like you say, more money, more problems. The bigger you get, the more attention you get, the more problems you get, the more people want what you got. That's just it. Yeah. That's it with the dope game. In my era growing up, it made you somebody. You were able to get a little imagery off of it, but then, like you said, you being watched, or is somebody jealous, or it's a female ready to set you up, or that was just the aspect of being in the dope game and gangbanging in the early 80s.
Did you think that there was a situation while you were selling crack that made you go like, man, I don't think I can keep fucking with this?
Well, first of all, my mom's, I had decent parents, Yeah. I didn't have, drugged out, got put in a foster care parent type of shit. I had decent parents. Yeah. I had hardworking parents who instilled some values in a motherfucker. So, but when you young, you experience shit. So I think just the fact that I grew up in Compton and, I ran with a gang, and, I didn't have an older brother, and my father left home. So basically it was a choice of just wanting to belong and be a part of something that was, I say, a ritual in my city. You know, you grow up, you gang bang. You be from the neighborhood, you sell dope. But I seen people killed. I went to plenty of funerals. I couldn't count on my hand how many times I went to jail for just loitering or hanging out or being caught with weed or crack or whatever. So it came to a time to where I just started going, you know, it got to be something else than this, you know. I'm not this straight and narrow kid, but it's got to be something else out there that'll prevent me from going to prison, getting shot or killed, or being one of those other statistics. So that's when I first heard rap.
Now, the areas you were growing up in, these were all Crip areas?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at what point did you start getting involved in all that?
I say when I was around 13.
Okay.
I lived in a Crip neighborhood, you know, my sisters, my cousins, they were all dealing with, you know, gangbangers, as if you want to say. Mm-hmm. So to me, with not having a father around, not having an older role model, you know, somebody who was playing sports or something, it just fascinated me, you know. Yeah. See 15 dudes on the corner hanging out, a couple of hood rats down there, you know, see dudes walk into the store, bell into a section, and people get them the respect of moving, or people scared or whatever. It just made me feel like they had the respect of having each other's back or belonging. So obviously, growing up in a neighborhood where I wasn't from, and getting, you know, I went through being sweated, if you want to call it, if you know the term. I went through being sweated. I've went through being jacked, and, you know, and kids patting your pockets at school, and, you know, I went through all that and I didn't like it. So I figured, hey, you can't beat them, join them. So that's when I decided, hey, I might as well start gang banging too and representing colors, and my moms didn't like it. She denied it, you know. I'd come home with rags and bandanas and sweatshirts with Tragnew Park on them and all this and all that, and she didn't know what was going on. But to me, I felt it was something I had to experience, because at that time, it's what you did. As a young black male growing up in Compton, and how people say you got choices or you had choices or whatever, I ain't had no choice. It wasn't no choice. You walk home and get your ass kicked from school every day, or you start gang banging and get with a group of niggas, and y'all gonna start protecting and upholding the neighborhood. And that's just what I did.
Now, was there like a jumping in?
We had an initiation. We were supposed to be jumped in, you know. We went up to a certain place, and it was about 15 dudes, and we were all getting drunk. And I think because I had knew a few of the guys already from being a young kid, just being around them, hanging out with them. When they would go fight other dudes, I would be there. You know, when they got into confrontations with other dudes, I would be there. Even though I was young and they wouldn't let me participate, I still was around. So when it came to the day for me to get jumped in, they said, fuck it. He's already in.
You got to pass.
I got to pass.
Yeah, I remember when I interviewed Trey D, he said that.
We did the 3-man, you know, 3 homies, and, you know, you just had to get down to the OG, said, okay, he cool.
Okay.
You know, we don't do seconds, because sometimes you had some little homies that knew how to put them things together, and they wind up dropping 2 of the people who was supposed to be putting them in, and it's like, hold on, it's too much. Hey, go, y'all get in. So, you know. But just to make sure he got his issue.
It wasn't like but it was a real thing. I mean, some cats got jumped in, and some cats just, you know, if you had the respect from some of your peers and they felt that you would represent to your fullest and you would give your all, then I guess they felt like it's unnecessary, you know. We know he'll fight when he has to fight, and whatever else it comes down to. Some dudes, they question that loyalty, so they want to jump him in. Some dudes, they figure like, hey, he'll do that. So,
have you seen dudes jump in and not really make it through that part and say, nah, I'm cool, this ain't really for me?
No.
No.
You don't get to that.
Once you're going through that.
You get jumped in, that's it. Ain't no, hey, hold up, stop, time out in the middle of the jump. And I think I changed my mind. I think I'm gonna go work at the supermarket or something instead. No, you don't get to, once you commit to, and I guess you get that grace period, because it ain't like you walk over there today and say, hey, I want to belong. And it's like, okay, let's jump you in. Yeah. You go through a stage, you hang out for a while, you kick it, you belong, people get familiar with you. And then after a while, if they feel like, okay, this dude has been here every day. He came to the hood every day. He representing. He ain't even from over here, and we get into confrontations, and he ready. He's with it. So I think from there, you get that grace period to decide, hey, and then if you one of these cats like me who observed what was going on for a while, you get that opportunity. It's not like I don't want to say you're forced into it, because it's not like, hey, you from over here, you finna be from over here. You got a choice, but a lot of dudes in my position really didn't have that, It was just a sense of we wanting to be along, we wanting to represent, and we feel like we want to be a part of what y'all got going on.
So at 13 years old, you're now a track new park.
Right.
Rep. Now, you're not getting your pockets patted down by various people anymore, but now you have a new set of problems.
Exactly.
Because now your group has issues with other gangs.
Exactly.
So what changed at that point?
Well, at that point, I started realizing that, gangbanging is territorial.
Yeah.
You can't go where you want to go. You can't wear what you want to wear. And basically, enemies are all around. So it's like being in the military. Mm-hmm. And, y'all on the hunt for insurgents, or they're on the hunt for you. And it's basically can go down at any time. You can walk in the liquor store bumping. Like I say, we used to pull up at gas stations just to pump gas, and next thing you know, you end up shooting or fighting. It's very territorial. It's very war zone-ish, At that time of 13, I'm realizing that it's this serious shit.
Now, I'm not going to ask for any details, but if you were to count how many shootouts you've been in.
Shootouts happen rarely. I mean, shootouts happen just by hanging in front of the local house where everybody's at, and hey, here come a car. They pull in a drive-by. Shootouts happen, you at the local liquor store going in to get a 40 ounce. You come out, it's dudes start blasting. I mean, we could be just on a weed run going to pick up some weed, and next thing you know, the homie decide, I'm finna take a U-turn and I'm finna go through here. And if there's somebody out, it's time to get busy. I mean, that's the realities of, and I don't want to make it like, it might sound silly to a lot of people, but like I said again, it's very territorial, it's very war zone-ish, it's very protect your neck. Like, to the outside world, it seems dumb in a nutshell. Kids riding by, driving, killing each other because this one is wearing blue and this one is wearing red, and it was way beyond that. It was beyond. To me, it was about protecting the area you were from. Not that you want to go out and but it's been embedded since the beginning of time. Since I was born and opened my eyes, and my mama brought me to Compton, and I was able to get on my tricycle and go outside. You got drive-by killings. You got people representing their neighborhoods. You got people affiliated. So at 13, it just showed me that this world is really, my city of Compton is really a hotbed for a lot of aggression from a lot of young black dudes who basically were taught this from infants on. So I just knew that it wasn't safe to do shit that I did when I was 10, 9, going to parks and, wearing, I wasn't worried about wearing red or blue or gray or black, or I didn't have to go. Now you have to at 13 years old, I got to check the shoestrings I got on.
Right.
And, you know, I can only wear blue and we can't go to this section. And even though they Crips over here, we don't get along with them. And then we don't get along with them. And so it's like you're boxed into a little part of your own life that you got to fight for until you make that decision of I want out or I got to do something different.
Now, I remember seeing, they showed a gang map of Compton.
Right.
And it was like the whole thing was filled with different gangs.
Right.
It was like Crip, this Crip gang here.
This street is
this
Crip,
blood,
this street
this
is blood.
This
Right.
is here's the Mexicans over here.
Exactly.
More Crips over here, different bloods over here, you know, and so forth. Like the whole city was
Our
was
whole
mapped
city
out.
was demographically broken down into gangs. Every 4 to 5 blocks, you got a different gang.
Yeah.
It's just how it was. I mean, it's just how it still is.
What do you think stopped, you know, because in any type of business organization or whatever, you have a bunch of small segments, but at one point someone comes in and starts putting stuff together and saying,
Right.
okay, well, you know, was Tukey Williams around? Was around during that time? Was he?
He was LA.
Was LA, okay.
I mean, we've always prided ourselves on being our own dudes. Long Beach was Long Beach.
Right. But even in Compton though, there was never any you know, you had
You
different
had
Crips.
you
but-
had sets. In Westwood, we had sets who would click up together. Like our neighborhood would be cool with the front hood Crips or the pocket hood Crips, and then you had Crips on the east side, like the south sides would be cool with the nutty blocks and the whatever. So you would click up, but click up isn't a whole like you know, one entity come in and go, we're all gonna be Crips together, and it was never possible.
Well, I remember when I interviewed Freeway Ricky, what he said was,
Black gangs really don't have the leadership stuff like
no?
not like, you know, I mean, I've been in the joint with them. I had never been around Mexican gangs before, or white gangs before. They have leaders. They have what they call shot callers.
But he's saying that the Crips and Bloods didn't have that.
They don't really go by those rules, you know. They got a guy that may call the shots on 2 or 3 guys, you know, they're following. But when you're talking about he's gonna dictate to the whole hood, that ain't finna happen.
You have your OGs,
Yeah.
and then you have dudes that gathered that respect, but we were all considered our own men. You hold your own weight. Like, nobody's gonna tell me I gotta go blast on them. I'm gonna do that on my own. Nobody's giving me orders saying, hey, if you sell on this block, you gotta take half of your portion and give it to the big commander. No.
Yeah.
I bought this pack.
Which is what happens in the Mexican mafia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They go by a structure because they want their structure like generationally formed. We don't live by that code. You your own man. Now I might run with my homie so-and-so here and we might run together. We all in part of this gang, but we do it to where we our own street over here. We're Tragnew Parks, but we might be from this block. And y'all from this block and y'all from that. And that's how we never had like, oh, Big Blue is the shot caller over every Tragnew Park. No, because you probably got your ass shot for that, or you probably would have got taken out because you don't need a sense of a leader. That's how we felt.
Right.
Nobody can tell you how to represent for the neighborhood. You're gonna represent, you're gonna represent. Right. Whichever it come down to is if that comes down to you selling dope, you doing drive-bys, or you just being that face. We never had nobody going, okay, you're gonna do this, and then y'all are gonna do this. No. Yeah. If I felt like, hey, my nigga, let's go ride on them fools over there today. I wasn't getting it shot down from, okay, today, Eiht and so-and-so is gonna do the drive-bys, and you gonna sit at the dope house today, and you gonna go work the block. No. You did what you wanted to do. Just represent Tragnew Park. That's how it came down to.
Right. And now if you look at that time in your life, What do you think was the craziest situation you ever got into?
I've gotten in a few. Pulling up just to see the homies, and then next thing you know, we getting shot at, or
Have you ever been shot yourself?
no.
Okay.
No, I've been shot at. I've never been shot. I've been in numerous gang fights where it's 20 and 30 people. I've gotten to the point to where I pulled up at gas stations in parts of town where I didn't think people would know who I was, and I'm getting shot at gas stations. And every day basically was critical. Every day in that time of when I was gang banging, from maybe the time of 13 to whenever I got it, every day was critical. Just to get up and wake up and walk to the store, you might get shot at. You might get jacked by the police. Your homeboy might get killed. Every day was a survival tactic of looking over your shoulder, checking cars, people's hats. You had to get familiarized with the code of the streets real quick.
I'm not the back down type though, you know what I'm saying? Like, he started talking this shit. I was on an aisle hook. He like, yo, you disrespecting Fetty. I'm like, so? One of them niggas smacked me with the gun from the back.
The challenges we faced from Houston, from Texas, is in hip hop, man. Man, ain't even worry about Slim G's, Iggy's, Zayla, none. Man, ain't worry about none of that, man. We got our own world going on of things that's way more crucial to us and to our Texas hip hop culture